UFP, the United Federation of Podcasts.
Welcome to Franchise Fatigue, the little podcast on the United Federation of Podcasts, where we discuss movies, remakes, and sequels. I'm your host, Brandon-Shea, and joining me, thankfully, we do not have Parker Posey. Instead, we have the wonderful Zach Moore.
What's up, Brandon?
Hey, buddy, how you doing?
Doing great. Now that I don't have to watch Blade Trilogy ever again.
Excellent. I'm so happy to hear that. We are going to be doing our little recap for the Blade Trilogy of movies for you before we jump into Back to the Future. Zach, I got a couple questions for you.
I got a couple answers for you.
How would you rank these movies? Which is your favorite? And what are the ratings that you gave them?
First Blade, second Blade, third Blade. That's my ranking. First one is my favorite. I gave that 4 fangs out of 5. Second one I gave 3.5 fangs out of 5. And the third one I gave 1 fang out of 5. As we were talking about in our Blade Trinity discussion, like, wow, like this franchise just went off the side of a cliff between the second and third movies. I mean, the first two are pretty equal. I just prefer the first one better. Mm-hmm. The general consensus seems to be the second one is people like that one better, and I can totally see that too. So same question to you then, Brandon. How do you rank them?
I gave Blade 2 3 stars, and I'd put that first. Then I gave Blade 3 stars in second place, and Blade Trinity 2 stars in third place. And yeah, that's what we got.
You're telling me there's only one difference, one step difference between 3 and the first two? Come on.
Like I said, man, when we did the first one, I'm not really big on superhero movies. I'm not really big on vampire movies. I'm not really big on
horror movies. This is not horror enough for you?
No, it's kind of silly. Like, yeah, they're kind of silly to me. So, but that's okay. I mean,
well, you know what, Brandon? You're kind of silly to me too.
Well, that's because I'm Canadian and we have healthcare. So, I got a question for you again. Now, what would you say is your favorite kill in this movie's trilogy?
Oh, I got to think about that one because so many of the kills are just like people get vaporized.
Yeah.
You know, the one that comes to mind when you say that is probably killing Ron Perlman because he just gets cut in half and you see like his brain and stuff just sliced in half. So that's the one that sticks out to me most. Because most of the other ones are just someone explodes,
yeah,
right? Either through blood injection or sunlight, or just a poof because you get shot by a silver bullet or something like that. So many of the deaths are quick.
Right.
That's the one I remember most. Him killing Ron Perlman. What about you?
I'd say probably the one when they ripped the guy's teeth out in the first movie.
Oh yeah, okay.
That one there, that was pretty creative. So, and then let the sun melt him away. So.
Your favorite actor, Udo Kier.
Oh, that guy's not very good. Udo Kier. Yeah, he's not
I'm talking
good.
to you, Frost. So, what's your favorite action sequence then?
I think I was really impressed with Blade 2 when he jumps out of the building right at the beginning, like just
CGI
starting
Blade.
there.
Okay.
Yeah, CGI Blade. let's go with the CGI. I love it.
I'm gonna go with the sword fight in the first one. I love a good sword fight, and I loved how practical it was. Yes, he did kind of turn into a blob monster a little bit at the end, but there was enough of the 2 human beings fighting each other in a physical, tangible way that made it work for me. So I'm gonna go with that one. And I like the kind of character of the camera sometimes, like the zoom in. That one, that's my favorite shot of the whole trilogy is that Zolly of Blade when Deacon Frost turns into the monster on him. So I'm gonna go with that one.
Awesome. Okay, so for our usual last question, I mean, we're not going to have a very long recap for you guys today, but for our usual recap question that gives us the most discussion, I'll start first with is the question of where would we like to see this series of movies go if they did a 4th film? And I think with the way that superhero movies have changed, I would probably like to see a remake at this point of the first film. I don't know who I would get to star in it or whatnot, but I think that how movies have changed and how superhero movies have changed, a remake would be the right choice because I think they could probably do some good stuff with that.
Yeah, as for me, I would like to see a Blade 4 with Wesley Snipes.
Okay.
I mean, he can still do it. I mean, with the sunglasses on that hides any kind of age marks on your face. I would love to see it redeemed because how bad the third one was.
Mm-hmm.
If you just take Blade and you give him a new cast around him, you don't even need any of these new Night Stalkers from Blade Trinity. No Ryan Reynolds, no Jessica Biel. A new city. I don't know if you incorporate him into like the greater Marvel universe. I guess you're going to have to at this point.
Mm-hmm.
But I would like to see something like Daredevil, the TV show.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, a Blade TV show, a Netflix. Well, those don't exist anymore. So I guess a Disney Plus Blade show in the style of Daredevil would be great. And
so have all those shows gone to Disney Plus now, like Daredevil and stuff?
Well, I think they're still on Netflix because they are rated R content, and they don't want rated R content on Disney Plus. So I'm not sure exactly how they're going to do that moving forward. But Blade is coming back in the MCU, and they didn't tell us if it's going to be a movie or a TV show, so they're probably still trying to figure it out too. A Blade TV show would work, just fighting a new vampire every week. The key, I think, is to have good villains, memorable villains. Like you have one overarching villain for a season, some memorable henchmen that he offs throughout the season until he gets the big boss battle at the end. But regardless of what they do, I would love to see Wesley Snipes back, but that's not what they're doing. Fair enough.
Mm-hmm.
If they did a reboot, would you want it to be completely separate from any of these other superhero stuff going on? Or
Well, I would say that I would want the reboot to be in, because while I haven't seen them, I really like the Sam Raimi trilogy of Spider-Man films, but like they rebooted those for the Marvel movies, didn't they?
Well, that was after another reboot, the Amazing Spider-Man reboot. So
yeah, so they've had a bunch of those things, but I think that's what I'd like to see is like if they do a reboot. Now, I guess it's odd because while Blade is a Marvel character, well, I guess, yeah, because Lance had said in one episode that he was in the Spider-Man cartoon show, so he could show up in the Marvel series, which is kind of weird.
Yeah, I mean, his style does suit the, that's why I reference it, that the Netflix style shows the Daredevil, the kind of, more street-level, grounded, dirty, realistic feel than, like, the big Marvel special effects extravaganza movies. But Mahershala Ali is going to be the next Blade. As of this recording, we don't know, like I said, if it's going to be a movie or TV show, but I'm excited to see him in the part. I doubt he's quite the martial artist that Wesley Snipes is. That was a great draw for me in the first couple movies, especially just seeing him do his thing and his martial arts skills. So I think that's a huge thing I want to see. I want to see cool action sequences showing off Blade's martial arts prowess using a sword. And just, for God's sake, don't give us a millennial Dracula.
Right.
Steer clear of that.
So, like, the MCU characters like Punisher and stuff that were on the Netflix, Punisher, Daredevil,
Jessica
Cage.
Jones, Luke Cage.
Did those
Iron
characters
Fist.
and actors show up in the Marvel movies?
No, there's been a really hard line dividing those shows with the movies. The shows reference events from the movies, like big events, but the shows are definitely not referenced to the movies, nor is there any actor or character crossover.
Oh, weird. Okay. Very strange. Awesome. Yeah, I think that's, then, it would seem weird, like, I guess, because having somebody fighting vampires is quite different than Spider-Man fighting Dr. Octopus,
Well, it's a whole nother mythology. It's like there's an underworld of vampires, right?
Yeah.
It's like, how do you fold that into the already existing MCU? I mean, I think people, and maybe I'm wrong about this, but I think people are getting a little overloaded with this whole connected universe stuff. And it's refreshing to see something that's kind of disconnected than anything else you've seen. So that's why I would like that TV approach. We call it TV. It's what TV is today, right? Netflix.
Right.
More so than, here's a Blade movie. He's in New York. He was there when the Avengers were, but they didn't know what he was doing. And, while Captain America was over here fighting Hydra, Blade was over here fighting a vampire. Like what?
Yeah.
Hard to reconcile, I think, especially this late in the game. So, I don't know. I'm definitely interested to see it. Despite the third movie souring this trilogy, it didn't sour the character for me. So, I am looking forward to seeing whatever new iteration of Blade comes our way.
Cool, right on. Well, you had any other final thoughts on the trilogy?
Yeah, I guess, did you have a favorite villain?
Probably Ron Perlman, just because I like Ron Perlman so much. Definitely not Ryan Reynolds.
He was not a villain. Until
Yes, he was. Yes, he was.
Deacon Frost in the first one was pretty good. I liked him. So him and Ron Perlman were my 1 and 2. Like I said, these interchangeable, vampires are like how can you make them different? That's the challenge. Like if they did a show, right? It's like, okay, another vampire. Wow, it's gonna get old after a while. And then of course I love Donald Logue as Quinn, as the sidekick in the first movie. He might be my favorite super villain comic book sidekick in any movie, like for real. He's just so much personality. He's so fun. So I had to have to have a final shout out to him as we close out this trilogy. But it's been a fun ride. Neither of us had seen these before. Doing this project, we saw them very recently. I'm glad we did. So it had been.
I'm just glad we had Lance with us.
Absolutely, yeah. And it had been a unfortunate blind spot in my superhero fandom. So I'm glad I put these on the resume now, and I look forward to what's next with Blade.
Excellent. Well, Zach, where can people find you when you're not pissing all over Blade Trinity?
Well, you can find me personally on Twitter at MooreOnZach. That's MooreOnZach. I'm also the host of my own podcast, Always Hold On to Smallville. We talk about each and every episode of That Young Superman show over there. You can find us on Twitter at Always Smallville with 1 S. And Brandon, when you aren't jumping around, I don't know. I got nothing. I suck at this.
You got to get better at this, man. When I'm not being a better podcast host than you.
I know it's coming. I just can't pull the trigger on something witty. So, Brandon, when you're not being a better podcast host than me, where can people find you on the internet?
You can find me on Twitter at Brandon Matella, and with my other Twitter handle, I Love Ron Perlman. You can find me over on Trek FM with a show called The Line, which is all about Star Trek Picard. And we're done now with the season. We'll be taking a little bit of a hiatus, but we'll be back for more later. And you can find me on the Fandom Podcast Network with a show called Good Evening and Alfred Hitchcock Podcast, which is all about Hitch's films in chronological order. And thank you so much to Ken Tripp and Tony Robinson for being the executive producers of the network, as well as Zach Tripp for creating our wonderful theme song music. Please visit us on Patreon at UFP Earth, where you can donate for the, $2 a month or $3 a month to get early releases, and $5 a month to get exclusive Star Trek commentaries. And please give us a rating and review on the interwebs. That helps people find our show. Until next time, when we cover Back to the Future, we'll be back in time.
This is heavy.
This has been a production of MTMR Media Works.